Is the GH5 still worth it in 2020? So the GH5 shoots 4K in 60 frames per second. It shoots 1080 at up to 180 frames per second. It does 422 10-bit internal. It has probably the industry's best in-body image stabilization. It has amazing battery life, and it does not overheat. Now, if only the autofocus on this camera didn't suck, it would probably be the perfect camera. Even with the autofocus not being the greatest on the GH5, it's still a powerhouse camera. For example, I'm shooting this video right now in 422 10-bit internally. That's something that before you needed to either have a professional camera or a broadcast camera to shoot. Switching from an 8-bit codec to a 10-bit codec is what's gonna help those gradients, like for example, your sky in your footage not fall apart, especially if you're throwing on like some aggressive LUT that you bought on the internet. You're not gonna have that problem because you're going from millions of colors in an 8-bit codec to billions of colors in a 10-bit codec. In addition to that, you get to shoot in 4K 60p, which is amazing. You know, like the R5 and the S3 that literally just came out now in 2020 are finally having 4K 60, and the GH5 has had it for 3 years. It's made shooting vlogs or even just run and gun so easy because I don't have to worry about like, oh shit, I'm not in 24 and now I can't slow this moment down. Because if I shoot in 4K 60, I can slow down whatever moment and I don't have to be worried about fiddling around with the camera, trying to change the settings, or more importantly, missing the shot. Being able to shoot in that 4K 60 has made it so nice. Plus, having the extra resolution, you can punch in on the videos. So if you need to zoom in or move around to get something out, it's definitely made a huge difference and made it a lot easier for me to just pick this camera up because I know that I've got the resolution and the frame rate to make it happen. And let's not forget the slow-mo capabilities of this camera. The GH5 shoots 180 frames per second in 1080p, which to be totally honest, the 180 looks like trash. The 120, however, looks fire. Now, do I wish it was 4K 120? Yes. You know, I drool over like red footage and 4K 120 because it is nice to have that resolution. But real talk, all of this footage was shot in 1080p and it still looks amazing. And to be totally honest, most of the projects that we're using these cameras for are for social. They're going online. It's probably only gonna stream at like 720p or someone's looking at it on their phone, like on Instagram. So 1080p is more than enough resolution. I mean, just look at it. Literally, just look at it. Which brings me to another thing. All of this footage that you're seeing was shot handheld. Yes, it was shot in 120, so that definitely helps smooth out the bumps. But I mean, look at this footage. It literally looks like it was shot on a gimbal, which is another reason why I consistently go to and grab my GH5. The in-body image stabilization is by far the best I've ever used, and I almost want to say the best in the industry. I was, being a film school graduate, I typically it's either on sticks or it's on a gimbal. Handheld was very specific. But the GH5 makes it so easy to shoot handheld and it's so much more convenient. This was a travel video that I made while I was in Bali. It was so nice to literally just bring my camera, which to be honest, as a creator, it's problems that we all suffer. We're like, oh, I don't have this, oh, I don't have that. And it's all about gear. But the truth is you can literally just pick up this camera and go. Another thing too is on that same exact shoot, I only had to change batteries once. Which brings me to my next thing. The battery life on this camera is amazing. As a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera owner, I know the struggles of having to deal with 20 to 30 minute battery lives. It's ridiculous. However, there's always that trade-off. With the GH5, there is no trade-off. The batteries last up to 3 hours in the camera, which when you're out and traveling, again, and you're trying to have as small of a package as possible,
You want to know that, hey, 2-3 batteries will last me the whole day, and I don't have to worry about in the middle of an interview or some sort of time lapse or some sort of epic shot that the camera's gonna die on me. Which also ties into another thing. This camera has no record limit and it doesn't overheat. In 2020, these are problems that we're seeing with new cameras. Again, this is a 3-year-old camera. It doesn't overheat. So whether you're filming an interview or again, a time lapse, you don't have to worry about at 30 minutes, this thing is gonna automatically shut off on you. It'll only stop recording if either the battery dies or you run out of memory card space, which for someone like me that films a lot of interviews and especially a lot of like online courses and fitness content, that's something that's important because you need to film things that are longer than 30 minutes. And a lot of times companies don't outright come forth and tell you that. There's like some sort of little asterisk or something and you've got to do your due diligence and go digging for the information. But this thing has no time limit and there are no signs of overheating. In the 3 years that I've used this camera, from the jungles in Bali to Gili Lankan or even in Abu Dhabi, I've never had one issue with this camera ever overheating or giving me any sort of signals that it was overheating.
So all in all, the GH5 is a powerhouse of a camera. I've used it now for 3 years. It's never let me down. And for $1,300, it's genuinely a steal. It does what the competing cameras that just came out now do, and it's a third of the price. As a freelancing videographer, this camera's made me over 6 figures. Literally, this camera. And I don't say that to brag or to sell you some sort of bullshit course or anything. I say that because at the end of the day, it's really just a tool. Now, as long as the tool can help you create what you need to create, that's what matters. And at the end of the day, this thing delivers professional quality results. So in 2020, is it still worth it to buy a GH5? Fuck yeah. Real talk, if you guys made it this far, thanks so much for tuning in. To be honest, this is actually like my first product review video ever, and it's not even like a full-on technical review. You know, I've just had the GH5 for 3 years and thought it would be an interesting thing to talk about because in 2020, I genuinely think it's still a banger. It still makes fire content and we all just want to make more content. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, or maybe don't do any of that. To be honest, it's totally up to you. But if you want to see more of these, let me know in the comments. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Much love, and I will catch you guys in the next one.